Hanukkah has come and gone for the year, but I wanted to take one more chance to look back on the holiday and share a bit of a lesser known story connected to it about a woman determined to save her people from grave danger. This woman, by the name of Judith, was a young widow who had earned the respect and honor of her town through devotion to her husband even after his death. At the time, the Jews in the land of Israel were facing a grave threat from the Assyrian army, led by a strong general named Holofernes. The invading army was surrounding the towns of the land and moving toward Jerusalem, and the people were growing desperate and afraid. Judith went to the elders of the town and said she would deliver them. The elders trusted her. She went out to the Assyrian camp with her maidservant. Upon reaching the camp, she convinced them to let her in, saying she was a Jew, but she was willing to tell Holofernes how to defeat the Jews, and claimed that the Jews were about to eat of the non-kosher animals and of the tithes of the temple, which would lead to their destruction anyway. Eventually, Judith, through a combination of her wisdom and beauty, is invited to the tent of Holofernes for dining. As he consumes a great amount of wine at the meal, she is able to eventually be alone with him as he passed out on his bed. Seeing her opportunity, Judith takes Holofernes' sword and cuts off his head. She then summons in her maidservant, who has a bag they use to hide it as they escape the Assyrian camp. Upon arrival back in her town, she shows the head of Holofernes to the elders and tells them to assemble armies and attack the Assyrians. As the Jews do so, the Assyrians discover the remainder of Holofernes dead in his tent, and the army is thrown into panic, and the Jewish armies run the Assyrians out of the land. The stories of Judith, found in the apocryphal texts that include the books of the Maccabees, is never explicitly linked to the story of the Maccabees, but seems to have taken place at the same time. Therefore, the medieval rabbis linked her story to the events of Hanukkah. Those same rabbis also reasoned that since Judith refused to eat of the meat of the Assyrian camp, that Holofernes passes out both from a feast of wine and a feast of cheese and milk. The Midrash is not only how dairy becomes linked with Hanukkah, but also how we know that sour cream is the correct topping for latkes.